Andrew Dorazio, what's up, friend? How are you, buddy?
Good. How are you, Stu? Good to see you.
You too, man. It's been a minute, and we were just commenting. You look fantastic, dude. You're looking good.
Thanks, brother. Feeling good. Just trying to stay on top of things. So
Yeah. So I was before we kind of get into who you are and your story, I was just reminiscing a little bit. Like I've done a bunch of interviews with this, with Military Investor Network, and there's been a lot of West Point grads, and I'm like thinking through this. I'm like, why are there so many West Point grads that are in real estate and doing great and like investing and I'm like, you know what? I was thinking through like they all are stationed in crappy locations and they don't have
right.
anything else to do but like build businesses and learn about investing while all the Navy guys are out like surfing and
Surfing, exactly. Yeah.
like having fun at the beach and like messing around and all these West Point guys are getting ahead by like buying rental properties.
Buying $100,000 properties in El Paso,
El
Texas.
Paso, Texas, dude. That's it. Like that's the differentiator.
You're
So,
not wrong. You're not wrong.
Well, dude, let's get into your story. For those watching this, tell us a little bit of background about who Andrew is, and get to where what you're doing now.
Sure, yeah. Commissioned out of West Point in '07. Always had like the entrepreneurial bug since I was a kid. So I knew that like I wanted to do something business related once I, had more time, money, capacity, all that stuff. And of course, read Rich Dad Poor Dad at some point along this journey and kind of
Yeah,
like changed my mindset on a lot of things. And I was like, all right, well, I'm going to own real estate. And so did a number of things. Ended up in El Paso, Texas, as we were just talking about. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna buy a four flat. I didn't know anything about anything. Bigger Pockets wasn't around yet. This is like '07, '08 time frame. And they might have been out, but they were still probably small and young, and I hadn't heard of them.
yeah,
The so I bought a four flat. Didn't know I could have used my VA loan. Didn't know I could have used a FHA loan. Didn't know anything, and so I got a 7.5% interest mortgage on it, and kind of a commercial loan type of situation. And but anyway, it turned out to be like the best investment I ever made in my entire life, and it was the one that kind of was the catalyst that started all the future projects. And so, got out of the army, started buying more buildings, realized, eventually you run out of your own money. So I started partnering with folks and basically just trying to raise capital, partner with friends and family, any way I could beg, borrow, and steal to get into more and more buildings. And so, I have a problem with shiny objects. So, of course, over the course of the years,
you and me both, brother.
yeah, I got involved in stuff in Ohio and Florida and more stuff in Texas and Savannah, Georgia, and all these different places. And it's all been great. But about 2017 timeframe, I was working a hefty W-2, hefty as in the amount of work, not the amount of money. And I partnered with my two partners, JD and Joey. JD being the Naval Academy grad, and Joey from Air Force. And we started buying buildings here in Chicago in our backyard. So um, we started with a four flat, and then we realized, all right, we got to go a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. And now we buy three, four, five buildings a year. Light value add. We're not looking to do any major construction projects anymore because it's a freaking headache. Uh,
Yeah.
and A lot of times we try to just bolt on AC to a building that maybe has furnaces but no central AC, and things like that to add add numbers to our NOI in the buildings. But today. So as part of this growth, as we started to buy more and more buildings, we needed a management company to kind of take over the operations of things. So I helped build that out as we were growing, and I always joke that like we built the plane as we were flying it, but it was exactly what we were doing. It was just we had to create new processes as we got to a certain size, and then as we got bigger and bigger. So now we're not huge. We own about 90 units here in Chicago. And we manage another 90 or so for third party clients. And We have a mixed team of local and Filipino-based resources helping run that. And I started. I've been a real estate agent on the side for a long time, and I quit my W-2 in 2021 to help build the management company and build out the broker side of things. But Dorazio Real Estate opened its doors, maybe 8 months ago now as a brokerage in Chicago. So now we have a team of mostly veteran agents running around the city too. So yeah, a lot going on, and I
Yeah.
started a wholesale supply company too on the side. I sell furnace filters to big buildings, and so yeah, I'm I hate saying that I'm busy, but I'm busy. So
Yeah. No, it's good, man. Well, kind of let's go back and take a step back into your military days. What did you do in the military while you were still active?
I this is a joke about too, but very relevant career field right now. But I was a Patriot missile officer, so 14 Alpha, air defense artillery. So,
Okay.
but I only got to see um, only two ever live fires, and was that they were not at enemy targets. So that's
Okay.
that's the funny piece of it. But yeah, very relevant now with all that's going on in the Middle East.
Yeah, for sure, man. What did you that transition out? Did you just do one tour in El Paso? Like, what was that transition out looked like? And you had mentioned you went into a kind of a hard charging W-2. Like, what was that?
Yeah, so yeah, I did 6 years deployment in there and but I spent all my time in the same battalion at Fort Bliss and um I realized real quick that um I wanted to be rewarded based off of my efforts and my hard work and what I realized in the Army and as in any bureaucratic organization, um, those who work hard get rewarded with more work, right? And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
so I was doing twice the amount of work as my peers next to me and getting paid the same amount or less maybe, depending on
Mhm.
how long they've been in and I was in like a difficult role at the time. Was managing mostly other captains and the peer leadership's probably the hardest challenge in the military, right? Like half the time my team members, I had to figure out different people's different styles in order to convince them that they should do work that day, right? And I was like, this sucks. I don't want to keep doing this and but I missed the army quite a bit, but yeah, I had some challenges my last couple of years and I realized I was more ambitious than that financially, right? And so
Yeah.
I did the whole Cameron Brooks thing, the junior military officer transition, and they lined me up with 8,000 interviews with companies and the conferences and all that fun stuff. And I ended up at Ernst and Young in their supply chain department, and basically was run around city to city helping companies with any process improvement type initiatives. So yeah, I did that for about 9 years, but it was a difficult transition for sure. And like I definitely didn't fit in right away with kind of corporate culture.
Mm.
I was still like a Joe, so to speak, at heart. I was the only one in the office that smoked, and uh, like so like I felt like people I don't want to say look down on me, but they definitely thought I was different than the main crowd and everyone there liked to puff their chest up about what they were working on and over time you realize everyone was lying and over exaggerating what they were doing and that just never sat well with me. But I grinded it out for 9 years.
Mm.
Traveled 48 weeks a year.
Wow.
Monday through Thursday every week, and eventually kids will change your attitude on flying. So
Yeah,
play a
for
young
sure,
man's
man.
game, young woman's game.
Just curious, like what from your days in the military and maybe even from your days kind of in corporate world, what lessons did you learn that have helped, transcribe into the investment world, the entrepreneur, small business owner world? Like what has helped you grow that side of where you're at now?
It's now that I'm like running a couple of small teams. I think like that small team leadership. I had much more responsibility in the Army than I ever did in corporate America as far as a number of people and probably dollar amount worth of equipment is concerned, right? And
Yeah, for sure.
you never probably never will get that level of like at one level of like command and leadership. But I think that some of the biggest things are the non-tangibles, the intangibles, and stuff that sometimes it's hard. They're hard to teach, but they were kind of instilled either before the military or kind of during my time in the military. But obviously, you start your own business, you got to have some level of discipline, right? Like, and
Mm.
I think, um, that what does that mean? That means getting up and doing PT every day when you don't want to. Not that I do PT now, but back then, right? And so it's doing those little monotonous things every day in order to inch by inch get better. I was just talking to my partner Joey today. Over lunch, and we were saying how like every day doesn't feel like we're making any progress at all.
Mm.
But you look back over the years, how much we've grown and developed and changed since 2017 when we first met. So yeah, the days seem long and unproductive, but like you do those little monotonous things day in day out, and eventually you get. Eventually, you're miles away from where you used to be. So that's a discipline. Running a small business can get lonely sometimes. And so I think like, having the right mindset to get through the challenging times and facing adversity, right? Like, I get screamed at by owners and tenants and other brokers for whatever reason, almost every day of my life, right? For
Yeah.
something other another. And so, um, while I don't always want to deal with some of that stuff, I think the military kind of taught me to have some thicker skin, to be resilient, to solve problems, right? And like property management is all about like getting shit done and solving problems. And
Yeah.
so at the end of the day, that's kind of what I spend my time doing.
That's good, man. Yeah, just that idea and concept of just improving by like 1% every day, right?
Yeah,
Just
for
taking
sure.
small steps, small actions that are improving yourself and your business every day is fantastic. Um, well, you've been investing for a long time. You've had a lot of experience in different assets and classes and niches, and like
Sure.
you said, you've got a little shiny object syndrome. Like I've been there too. I'm just curious, like out of all of your investing, what would you say is your best investment?
So the one I always harp back on is the first one, right? And so
Mm.
um and what I tell people all the time is like it's not about time in the market, it's time in the market. And so my biggest deal is the one that I've held for 18 years, right? And so
So you still own that one?
still own that one, yeah, and I'll
That's
probably never
amazing.
sell it ever. But I paid $192,000 for a four flat. Now it brings in like almost 4 grand a month in rent, and I have a 3.2% interest rate, and
That's
um,
awesome.
I've refinanced that thing multiple times as it got more valuable. And pulled cash out. And so why that's the best investment? Because I was able to leverage it to buy probably every other building that I've bought since then. And
Mm.
um, so yeah, so that would definitely be up there. We try to hit base hits with our purchases in Chicago, the small ball stuff, but we have hit a couple of probably doubles or triples. And so the next best one would probably be this mixed use building we bought. We paid cash for it, fixed it up a little bit, but the building was operating fine. It just the rents were, probably half of what they should have been. So we just turned over some tenants, kindly. We try not to like kick people out in the street. We work with our tenants to make sure that they're in good spots because a lot of times those tenants that have been paying half what they should have been paying for all those years, they've come accustomed to not being able to afford a higher amount, right? So,
Yeah.
that's always a challenge for them and a big shell shock. Um, so anyway, we got rents up in the top floor units, and then we signed a new 5-year lease, and we basically got it appraised for, and we put a good amount of money into the building too, new roof and new tuck pointing, new paint everywhere. But we got it appraised for 500,000 more than we bought it for, and we were able to pull out every dime of cash that we put in, and now the thing cash flows very well, And so it was a perfect Burr method strategy basically, but
Yeah,
on a mixed use 5 unit building. So that would
that's
probably be
awesome.
the next best.
Is that kind of been a strategy that you've seen work well? Is buy a property, either just undervalue, fix it up, make it, more valuable, and then do like a cash out refinance, use that money to then go buy more property? Has that kind of been a standard kind of practice for you guys?
For sure. And one of the things is like, with a lot of these commercial loans, they typically you can get longer terms, but they're typically going to be 5 year notes, right? And so
Yeah.
whether or not our strategy is to fix them up front, we know at year 5, we have to get our net operating income at to a certain level in order to achieve our business plan, right? And so at
Yep.
the beginning, especially with investors, we lay out kind of the path that we're gonna try to take. And of course, the path is, it looks linear, but it's, it curves all over the place
Yeah.
as you're going through it, and there's ups and downs and lefts and rights. And so the plan is usually, if we're gonna do some work, um, uh, we we might ride it out to the 5 year mark, or we might. It depends on the loan structure too. So sometimes
Hmm.
we do construction loans. We try to avoid those though because they suck. Well, they don't suck. They're a tool, but they're just sometimes hard to.
Yeah.
I've been working on a month now of getting paperwork submitted to the bank to get our draw to pay our contractor so they can keep working. But and maybe it's me being dumb at math, or paperwork. I don't know which, but yeah, they're a pain. But yeah, so essentially that strategy is kind of played out over and over and over again, and with the 5 year terms, it kind of forces you to. So now we're refinancing stuff that we bought in 2021 now, and the next year we're going to have 3 refis because we bought a bunch of stuff in 2022, and the same for every year. There's going to be a multiple of these cash out events, and that's ultimately where this business kind of can make you wealthy. So.
Yeah. I love that, man. I'm sure you've had some dogs in there. What's your worst investment you've ever had?
Yeah, we had a couple dogs, man. Like I blame luck on everything, right? Like, had that first deal I did gone sideways at all, I probably would have never bought another building again, right? And
Yeah.
so I got lucky there that, like, I was patient enough, and I had the money to be patient enough, and I didn't have any other problems going on that enabled me to hold on to that thing for 18 years and let it, take the time it needed to mature, right? Um, and so ultimately, yeah, the duds we've had, like, I always say time tends to heal all wounds in real estate. And so we bought another building in El Paso, 11 unit, but everything under the sun went wrong with this thing. The roof basically blew off in a windstorm. We had to evict a bunch of tenants. We had to fire our property manager. We had roaches and all kinds of trouble and problems and drug dealers. And so it took us a really long time. But like we didn't make a dime in cash flow for 6 years straight.
Mm.
And then eventually we sold that building, and we doubled our money on it. So it turned out to be a good deal. But so my biggest, if that's my biggest loss, then I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah, right.
But that was a problem that time allowed it
Mm.
we sold it at the most perfect time we could have ever sold a building. It was like 2021, and rates were still low, and demand was high. So, but yeah, we've had a couple. I tried to dabble with some flips at some point in time, and that game, and it's tough, and I'm not very good at it. So, we took a L on a small single family home. I wanted to turn it into a rental, but my partner at the time wanted to get out of it, and so that was the best strategy at the point. So we lost maybe 10, 15 grand. It wasn't detrimental to
Yeah.
anything but my mental health at the time. So. Uh,
Which can be a big deal at times,
Oh,
right?
huge. Yeah, for sure. I mean and a lot of people burn out in this game because it can get challenging and difficult, and could really get under your skin really quickly. So,
Yeah, that's good, man. Um, if you were to do it over again, what advice would you give yourself, kind of starting back in the early days and going at it again?
yeah, I'm doing a presentation tonight actually, and this is one of the slides I talk about, and like,
Okay.
I have a bunch of lessons learned on there, and like what I would have done differently. But the biggest thing I tell people is if I were starting over again, and this is the advice I give a lot of the younger guys and girls that are getting into it, um, I would have probably bought as much as I could have, as early and quickly as I could have, with low
Mm.
and no money down options, right? The VA loan is a tremendous tool. not a lot of people know this, but I have a client right now that's buying a 5 unit building with a VA loan,
Mm,
because the first floor unit's a commercial tenant and there's four residential, so it's in the handbook that this is allowable. So we're sneaking it through, and it should close next week. But a lot of people don't know you could even buy multifamily with this stuff. So it's like
yeah.
what my brokerage preaches all the time too. Try to encourage people to go that route. But I would have bought more. At the time, I didn't see the writing on the wall, and nobody does, right?
Yeah.
Every time you buy a property, it feels like it's overpriced at that time. But every time we buy something, within a couple of years, we realize, oh, we got a good deal on that thing. Inflation does its thing over time, so yeah, so I would say the first piece of advice, like to anybody, like if you're going to go into this, like get as many properties as quickly as you can, with as little or no money down as possible, when you're able to. Because now I can't buy a four flat and live in one unit. My wife would probably kill me.
Yeah, for
Uh,
sure.
so uh, so
Do it while
yeah,
you're
so just
young and
do it while
single
you're
and you don't have
young. Yeah,
kids.
you just bounce around, do it every year, do as much as you can. And
Yeah,
then so yeah, so like you just got to let time's got to do its thing. So you just got to buy them as quick as possible and let that snowball keep snowballing. So
that's good, man. Yeah, I don't think I used my VA loan until like I think my third house.
yeah,
Like
same,
similar. I didn't know about the VA loan
dude. No
until
idea.
until
Nobody,
later.
nobody said a word to me about it until I started asking questions and reading stuff. So.
Yeah, no, it's good, man. All right, last question here. What advice, or not what advice? What would you ask to the members of Military Investor Network, or I mean, you can plug what you're doing. For the people that are watching this, listening to it, what would you say to them?
Um, as far as like how I can help them or how they can help me, what's their
Yes, yes,
yes,
any and
yes,
all.
fair enough. If people are interested in learning how to invest in real estate, or want to be part of our next round of money raises, which we probably do, one a quarter or so. Reach out to me, and I'm a pretty open book, and I'll talk to anybody anytime about anything real estate related. So, anybody could text me, call me, and I'll give anybody the time, especially veterans. So that would be the one thing. If anyone's on the fence about getting into investing, and I can either help kick you off the fence or keep you on the fence. Depends on who you ask. But yeah, I mean that's the biggest thing. If anybody's interested in investing, if anyone lives in Chicago, I'm happy to help. Find your next investment property or your next home. Yeah, and if anybody manages any big buildings in across the U.S. and wants to save some money on some everyday products they use, they can also come to Veteran Industrial Suppliers. So that's my wholesale supply company. So shameless plugs abound. But
I love it, man.
but
Well, where
yeah,
do people kind of get in touch with you? How do they find out more about what you're doing?
DorazioRealestate.com is probably that's my brokerage, but it's got all connecting points to the other businesses,
Great.
and yeah, all my contacts there, so
Okay.
it's the easiest way to get hold of me.
Perfect. Andrew, thanks, buddy. I know you
Of
got a
course.
lot of stuff going on, but like you said, you always make time to have good conversations and
Yeah,
educate
I
and
got a
teach
good
and
view
help.
today too. I don't know if you could see it, but
Nice.
I'm actually at I dropped my business partner off at his condo, and I'm sitting in their little
Beautiful.
lobby room thing, whatever this is. So it's better than my basement office that I normally reside
Love it,
out of.
dude.
So
Well,
uh,
thanks, buddy. It's
thank
good to see
you.
you, and thanks for everything that you do.
Thanks for having me on, Stu. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
yeah, bud.
Yeah.